Namato Ratana Tayasa. May I pay homage to Triple Gem, the Buddha and Dhamma and the Sangha. My respect goes to my parents and my teachers. Hello everyone, good evening. Today is Saturday 13th of June 2020. As usual, I am here with you this night. This is Ajahn Sujan from Warapanya Meditation Center, Aberdeen, Scotland. As usual, I'm here. Hi everyone, hi Colin, hi Suresh, Manish, Margaret. Apologies early on. I was online in my private Facebook account, and then when I was trying to share, suddenly I realized, oh, this is not the center's one, this is my private one. So I immediately deleted and changing this into the center one. So apologies for those who just followed and misleading. I think Margaret was already giving me a high five on my private account. So thank you, Margaret, and thank you everyone, those who are continuously following and listening the talks and also practice of a meditation. So thank you all, everyone. And again, today is a Saturday, and at the center is foggy from early morning until now. We have no rain, a showering rain, and again, but no sunlight at all like gloomy, but beautiful in a way. And when I went just for a fresh air, about 15 minutes, I had a short break today. I was teaching this afternoon, so I went out and a little walk, and it was a nice feeling as you walk in. It's like it reminds me about every year I used to go for a walk, on a mountain walk, about a couple of days, and as you walk into the mountain Kengkrom, which is the highest mountains in our area in Aberdeenshire. And when there is a foggy days, you cannot see even a meters or 2 meters ahead. So it needs to be we need to be very careful when you walk in. And like as you walk inside the mist, you leave the past, and then as you go on forward going in, you're discovering new things. And you will be able to see new things every time when you're walking each path, each steps that you walk in. And in the meantime, you're leaving the past. When you look back, you cannot see even one single item. That much dense the foggy fog when you are in the mountains. So this reminded me when I was walking this evening. This evening in our field, it was foggy but beautiful. Actually, in our life, we have to leave the past. We have learned the lesson and we leave the past, but we go forward on the future. Doesn't mean that we forget. Doesn't mean that we forget our past, but we shouldn't hold on to the past and causing us in difficult time. We have to move on. Soul must go on. But what happened is we normally tend to stay or hanging on to the emotional things of the past, whether that's how hurtful that is, or whether that is harming and causing a lot of trouble to us. And I have seen a lot of people suffered from it because of the past, particularly the trauma during the childhood time. It's very, very difficult to let go. And that's how there is a so-called the cognitive therapy and the mindfulness for the stress reductions and anxiety, and these things are developed. And simply because the holding on to the past, and we normally hold on to the past, and that is the main reason of a lot of troubles that we have, and even the fighting for like so-called rights, or even for the nationalities and these things. The more we hold on to the past, the suffer we will receive more. And yesterday I was listening BBC4 and a conversation about the lockdown. Some countries are saying that, like in Italy, people are suing the government, saying that the government didn't impose the lockdown a little earlier. And that's the reason why they have lost their loved ones. And in the same times, here in England, big companies, all the travel companies are suing. The case went to the judge, suing the government that locking down causes their loss. Who is the right one here? And it's already gone, already done. Well, you cannot undo. And that time everything was new to all of us. The virus was new and we didn't have much data information. And that was the reasonable things to do to keep us safe. And yet, as different ways of twisting and turning, causing troubles. And also I felt very sad for the interviewer who was like trying to digging into the deeper and deeper that who is wrong and who is right. We cannot find who is wrong and who is right on the basis of information then and now. Current information is completely different than it was. Yeah? So that's why Buddha is simply saying that past is a lesson that we have learned. But we shouldn't be hanging on to the past, but move on to the next. We have learned the lesson, and based on that, we have to learn more things and move on to the next. There was a story from the Samyutta Nikaya, not Samyutta Nikaya, I think it's in Anguttara Nikaya. One of the celestial beings, this is from Samyutta Nikaya, the Devata Samyutta. One of the celestial beings was so puzzled to see that why monks are so serene and why they are so happy. Despite they are living with limited things and eating only limitations and living in a very small life, in a simple life, having no possessions, and why they are so happy and so serene. In response, the Buddha said that monks, they live a simple life without having any attachment to any. Past is gone, they will not hang on, and future yet to come, they will not think of the future at all. They will simply live in the present moment, aware of the present moment, live by present moment. So simply living this moment as the precious moment and use it and utilize it properly, and that's how monks are so happy, and ability to let go things. They have given up so-called identity views and so-called this is me and mind. But again, let me remind you that of present day monks are not all like that as at the time of the Buddha. There are plenty of monks. They are not. Okay? But again, the philosophy behind the happiness is simply leave the past, forget the future, but do the best in the present moment. Based on the past, we do the best now, thinking that whatever we do now defines the future. So, with this in mind, when we are working, then definitely we will be happier in the future. Yeah? So, this is what I wanted to say, like going into the mist. You're leaving all the past and then going into the mist. And this also reminds me, I remember a couple of years ago I was attending so-called fire labyrinth organized by the paganism, pagans, so worshipping the nature and worshipping the elements, fire, earth, fire, water, air, and each directions. And I had an opportunity to join even this year too. Yeah, and as you walk into the fire labyrinth, the philosophy behind is that as you get into the labyrinth, you're leaving your past, everything behind. And as you arrive at the middle of the labyrinth, you stand there and reflect what you would like to have for the future. Yes, so basically, New Year coming. And as you walking out from the fire labyrinth, you're bringing all the energies and all the positivities in you. And as you move in and you out for the new life, new year, new era. So, we all know the philosophy behind of being happy. And that is, leave the past. Do not hold on to the past. Do not grab onto the past. Do not take on to the past. But it's very, very difficult to let go. It's very, very difficult not to think. Difficult not to think. And difficult not to be clinging on to that. And as a result, it's difficult. And that's how we suffer a lot mentally. Physically, we may seem healthy, but mentally, we are suffering quite a bit, quite a lot. And with that, our behavior changes too. The way we speak changes. The way we behave changes. The way we think changes. And we will be trying to find someone to blame for this and blame for that. We will be trying to speak out loud in different forms and different words, different harsh words and hard words, swearing and so and so. Simply doing it, hoping that it gives satisfaction and it will solve the problem. But it causes more trouble. That's why the practice of a meditation is simply to recognize those things, understanding those things, what's happening, ability to know that this is happening. And having understood that, the wisdom arises in us that how to let go of those things, how to let go of the past rather than hanging on to it. All what we need is to live the new life again and again, live new day again and again. That's why last night's teachings on the Rahulavada Sutta, the discourse that the Buddha gave to his son, he told the Rahula, Venerable Rahula, that whenever we take this body as just a part of this four elements, and we do not attach to this four elements, when we take it as this is not belongs to us and we have no attach to this body, nothing can harm us. It's like someone is shouting at someone and who is not relatives of us, who hasn't got any relationship to us. Then what happens? We have no feelings at all. Yeah, we have no feelings at all. So, and that is what we have to develop. The very moment when we have attachment to ourselves, our identity, attachment to our views, attachment to our own body, in that moment, whenever something happens against our perception, against our views, against our nationality, our identity, our ethnicity, then all the problems will begins. Ill will begins, hatred begins, and jealousy begins. And these are simply due to this clouded mind, the delusion that we have, deluded understanding. So that's why the Buddha's teachings is simply to educate ourselves. Education is the path. Education, or learning to know, understanding the truth, what is what, rather than jumping into the conclusion as the stream says so and making a decision on that. We have to find the truth. Yeah? So this is important factor that we need to know. So thank you everyone for watching and following. Hi Sunam Barua from Bangladesh. I know that Bangladesh also used to be a Buddhist country and suffering a lot at this time. I have a few Bangladeshi monks as a friends. Namo Buddhaya from India. And most of the so I used to work with the Punjab Buddhist Society UK, who was also promoting Buddhism on the basis of Baba Sahib Ambedkar, and I worked with this, and I do understand how difficult Buddhists are facing in India, and despite of changed from Hinduism to Buddhism, there are still they are still facing a lot of troubles from so-called high castes. And I saw this morning even a post saying that as we are very close with the news about Black People Matter, and this morning I saw one post saying all Dalits' life also matter. So now it's another movement, another phase of a movement began in India as well. But in my understanding, it's not one ethnic group or one group of a people matter. We should be focusing on every people matter. Yeah. So very moment when we take every people matter, then we take every one of us as a brother, sisters, brothers and sisters. So there will be no boundaries. And again, yesterday I was listening the some discussions about the U.S. election and proposing that vice presidents should be the Black people in order to make a balance. And in that way, again, I felt like, what about the other ethnic groups? They may feel left behind. So in these ways, we shouldn't be classifying that this group or that group. We should be taking it as who is capable of running the country, rather than this community or that community representing this or that. If every ethnic groups are calling for their members to be in the parliament, and then wanting to be without having any qualifications, then how the country will run? So there is a teachings on this as well. The Buddha said that although your relatives are so dear to you, if you want to develop the organization, and if you want to develop the country, or if you want to develop the office that you are working in, you shouldn't choose because of the affections. You should choose a person who is qualified to do your job. so to do the job. So that's why, in my understanding, rather than classifying this or that ethnic group or this group or that group of people, we should be in a standard, one who is capable of doing, and in that way, what happens is that it's become a standard organization rather than based on one ethnic group or one group of people. Very moment when one group of people take over the power, then they will mislead the power or misuse the power. So, but when the charismatic leaders, that's why the charismatic leaders will choose the qualified members rather than my relatives or my ethnic groups. Yeah, so like that. So I remember when I was doing my master's on religion and society, there was a chapter called the charismatic leader, and it's quite interesting to read. And it gives a lot of information about how the great leaders worked through to the difficult times. And when I was even reading the some of the writings of the great reformist Babasaheb Ambedkar of India, he also spoke in that way that we need to choose one who is qualified. That's why he introduced everyone to be educated, give education as the tool to develop their capability and their qualities. And once you are educated, so-called wise, you become a wise one. Once you become a wise, it's a very less chance that will think of only personal gain or only the gain for the one group or a group of people, but they will think of the future, think of the country, think of the whole community, regardless of their ethnicity or identity. So that's why, in this moment, what we need to be very careful that whatever we say, whatever we do, whatever we think, we have to think beyond these barriers of identities and things. I was reflecting on this identity issue as well. It's been a while that I've been reading and also reflecting on, and I found from the history that actually the wise one, so-called the educated one, are the one who is causing the troubles in most of the places by differentiating that this ethnic group is better than that ethnic group are good than this ethnic group in this way and that way. Their religion is this, and this religion was introduced by this group of people and imposing this, in that way. Particularly the ethnographical research works I found causing conflicting between the groups and ethnic groups, although they are presenting the truth about each groups, but the way the presentation always leads to the biasness of one side or the another, which again, if we are not wise enough and if we haven't got the right reflection on that, then that causes the conflict. And even we can look at here in our UK as well, UK case between English and Scottish. Although we are merged into together, we have so many Scottish living in England and then so many English people living in Scotland. We shouldn't be dividing that this is me and the Scottish and that is the English one, but we should be united, like the Scottish or like the UK. And when I read some of the articles, I found that Scottish are best in this way, English are not good in this way, and English are good in this way, and Scottish are not good in that way. That sort of studies, rather than bringing to the brotherhood, rather than uniting, it's more of a dividing and a conflict begins. So that's why, when we read the articles, and particularly the research articles, we need to be very, very careful on that, how they are presenting and how the biasness creates. And with that presentation, what happens is we hold on to our history, our background, and we hold on to and grasp onto that. This is me and this is mine. We shouldn't be this and we shouldn't be that. And with this, we cannot tuning in, we cannot merging in, we cannot blending into the so-called new society, and we simply trying to separate from one another. And with this, all causes the trouble. Okay, so what we in the Buddha's teachings simply is to leave the past. Don't worry about the future, but living in the present moment, learning what you are doing, what you are thinking, how you are breathing, in terms of creating the harmony and cohesion and peace. It's a matter of how you are working to create rather than how you are working to create the conflict or the difference or the creating the boundaries. So that's why Buddha's teachings is simply to unite all and seeing everyone as a human beings rather than first coming back to the this ethnic or that ethnic. So with this, today I don't have any specific topic, but I simply talk on the basis of what I have experienced today and some of the insights or reflections that I have been thinking of in social matters and things. So I hope it doesn't offend you all, offend any one of you, and if it does, then apologies. And this is just a personal view as a person who thinks and read. But again, different people will have a different talks and different understanding, so every one of us has rights to express. But having said that, again, we shouldn't be stick with our own views. We have to reflect and think. No matter who says what, we always need to reflect, think, and digest, and then move on. So the end of this tonight's talk, I would say, leave the past, we also move on. So must go on. With this, I will end here. In a few minutes time, we will have a chanting and guided meditation. So thank you everyone for listening and following, and may you be happy, peaceful, and we'll see you shortly. If you're not following for the chanting and meditation, good night, and see you tomorrow at 6:30 for the talk. And if you're following, then shortly we'll tune you in. Thank you Margaret, for your reflection. Thank you everyone, those who are listening from locally and internationally. Thank you Colin. Thank you.